There are people who missed the deadline who will have the opportunity, and still do. ISP has said that registration is open to people even now. We have rules in place. There will be rules that will be codified, I suppose, once JCAR gets together over the next month, well, a couple weeks, and month after that as well. And we'll work through the registration challenges over the next month or two.
It's Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday at his first news conference of the new year and his first news conference after that January 1st deadline of the gun ban registration in the state of Illinois. Welcome back. It is Bishop on Air, here with you each and every weekday morning, where we take a look at a lot of focus on the litigation against the state's gun and magazine ban. I know a lot of you are coming to this channel for that. We do have tomorrow a scheduling conference in the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court with Judge Stephen McGlynn asking litigants in that case what kind of witnesses, what kind of expert testimony they expect during evidentiary hearings. So they're going to start getting to the merits of the issue. Here we are now, a day and a year after the law was enacted. It really kind of shows how quick you can enact a law, but then challenging the constitutionality of that, it takes a long time. And I know a lot of people were anticipating action from the U.S. Supreme Court to have an emergency injunction. Requests to do that were denied on several fronts, and those were just preliminary requests. Things not focused on the merits of the issue. Those things still have to be dealt with, but by having to request preliminary injunctions to try to block the law from being implemented, that has taken a lot of the court's attention in the various jurisdictions, going all the way up to the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals on a preliminary basis, and then up to the U.S. Supreme Court on a preliminary basis. But now that those preliminary measures have ultimately been exhausted, you've got some looking to go back to the U.S. Supreme Court to ask about the merits, but others back in the district courts trying to deal with the merits, and that's what's going to happen in the Southern District of Illinois with Judge Stephen McGlynn and the Barnett case, which is kind of the case that lumps all of these challenges in the Southern District together. So we'll be watching that, and we'll be reporting out what happens with that scheduling conference on Friday. But of course, January 1st was the deadline to register certain semi-automatic firearms. For the total number of FOID card holders, 2.4 million individuals who have a firearm owner identification card with the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois is one of, I think, 4 states that require that type of pre-purchasing license to be able to exercise your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. So while that's being challenged, and that's something else we'll have to follow as well, because we do have some things coming up later on this year in federal challenges against the firearm owner identification card. But that's separate and aside. 2.4 million FOID card holders in the state of Illinois. Of that, around 30,000 have said that they own a banned item, which comes out to about 1.2% of total FOID card holders registering banned items. So that's 1%, because the only benchmark we have in Illinois is that FOID card number, right? That's the number of firearm owner identification card holders. Not every FOID card holder has a firearm. But some FOID card holders have multiple firearms. And that's what we've seen in some of the data, at least. But the estimates are anywhere between 1.2% compliance rate to maybe 4 or 8% compliance rate when you extrapolate some other studies saying, there's 20% of gun owners have certain types of AR-15s or something to that effect. But the real issue is we don't know the total number of individuals who have complied with this. However, all indication is that it's below 10% compliance, meaning 90% of individuals who would fall under this act in Illinois have not complied. So Governor J.B. Pritzker, in his first news conference of the year after the January 1st deadline, he talked about the economy with a lot of other individuals in the business community up in Chicago and touting new numbers. But during Q&A, a lot of off topic. They focused on migration, which we'll touch on in another segment, but he was also asked about the firearms and how many people have not registered and how it's going to be enforced, and still some looming questions about all of the firearm registration rules that there are. Here's the governor.
Let's see. There's a lot in that question. Let me start with calling out the misinformation coming from the other side. 2.4 million FOID card holders does not define the denominator. Not everybody has an assault weapon, and as you saw from the folks who have registered, many people have multiple assault weapons of their own. So each FOID card holder that has registered has had multiple. So my point is that many people already have registered, and we don't know the number of people that have those assault weapons in hand. What we know is that it's going to be vastly fewer than 2.4 million FOID card holders, and I think you've acknowledged and said that yourself. And so we certainly are trying to make it, as easy as possible for people to do that. There are people who missed the deadline who will have the opportunity and still do. ISP has said that registration is open to people even now. We have rules in place. There'll be rules that'll be codified, I suppose, once JCAR gets together over the next month, well, a couple weeks and month after that as well. But I also want to make something very clear. Don't fall for the shiny object that they're trying to get you to pay attention to about registrations. It is illegal and impossible to purchase an assault weapon at a store in the state of Illinois today because of the legislation that we passed. High-capacity magazines are unavailable. Assault weapons are unavailable to be purchased in the state of Illinois as a result of the legislation that we passed. And we'll work through the registration challenges over the next month or two.
So again, Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday in a news conference that he had about the economy, but he was asked about the firearms registration numbers and the appearance of a really low compliance rate. So he also mentioned JCAR, right, and the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, where you've got the second notice filings still have yet to be dealt with. And that's going to come up next week on Tuesday. The Joint Committee on Administrative Rules will be meeting and taking up those rules. What happens? Could they possibly suspend the rules because of the continued confusion? Could they object to the rules, having some filings that they want serious answers to, or are they going to accept those rules on second notice? Because as of right now, you've got a whole bunch of unanswered questions and holes in the rules that people are bringing up, from the types of firearms to what constitutes a licensed shooting range to how airsoft components are going to be treated by all of this. So the list of questions continues to grow as to exactly how this is going to be implemented moving forward, even after the January 1st deadline to register. Again, this week, Friday, scheduling conference and litigation against the gun ban going on the merits down in the Southern District. We'll be watching that. Next week, Tuesday, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules meets, where they are expected to take up the second notice gun ban registry rules. And we'll also just get more reaction altogether from the various individuals who are behind this, but also those who continue to oppose it. So this is some of the latest here on this Thursday with Bishop on Air. Follow along on X, on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe and notification bell, and we can connect that way. All right. It is Bishop on Air each and every weekday morning. Thank you for being here. We've got more coming up, so stay tuned.